From the very first moment, I want to pull you into a truth most Americans have never even considered. The leather chair in your living room, the belt you put on every morning, the wallet you've carried for years, even the seat on that roaring Harley ripping down the interstate. Many of these aren't made from cowhide, as most people assume. A surprising number are crafted from buffalo hide, a material that entered the American market quietly, almost unnoticed, like an unmarked soldier stepping onto the battlefield, rugged, resilient, and far tougher than most give it credit for. The real story begins beneath the surface. The collagen fibers of buffalo hide are thicker, denser, and far more aggressive than those of cattle. That's why so many US brands turn to buffalo for outdoor gear and heavy-duty leathercraft. It's stronger than cowhide, often cheaper, and has that unmistakable rugged look Americans love. Less polished, more battle-tested. It feels like a natural armor plate, built not just to endure, but to survive. But the heritage of buffalo leather in America reaches far deeper than modern manufacturing. Long before industrial tanneries, Native American tribes used bison hides for shelters, clothing, armor, and ritual objects. Their methods were simple, yet astonishingly effective, turning the skin of a colossal beast into cultural armor, flexible enough to wear, durable enough to withstand storms, and symbolic enough to pass down through generations. And today, even with massive drums, engineered enzymes, and automated lines, the modern leather industry still carries echoes of those ancient techniques. When Americans hold a leather product in their hands, they rarely think about why it can last for decades, why it resists tearing and weather, or why some brands specifically choose buffalo over cow. But those questions lead us into a reality hidden behind the polished surface of every finished leather good. An industrial world far larger, far more complex, and far more precise than most people ever imagine. A world where dozens of sequential steps operate with the coordination of a military operation, where a single mistake in pH, moisture, or timing can ruin an entire shipment worth tens of thousands of dollars. In this industry, precision isn't a luxury, it's the only way the system survives. And this is the threshold of the journey we're about to take. A journey not meant for those who only admire the glossy finish of a chair or the clean stitching on a belt. We're heading to the ground floor of the supply chain, where raw hides arrive heavy and unprocessed, where mountains of salt preserve material that would otherwise decay, where industrial drums the size of small rooms spin like engines of war, and where every minor decision shapes the strength, flexibility, and value of the product an American consumer will eventually buy. If you've ever wondered where a leather item truly begins and how something so rough, so primal, can transform into a premium product in modern American life, this is where the real story starts. And in the next chapter, when we enter the primary processing floor of the tannery, you'll see just how little the public truly knows about the world behind the leather they use every day.
All right, bring the next pallet down slowly.
Confirmed.
The journey of buffalo leather truly begins long before the first machine starts turning inside an American tannery. It begins in the agricultural heartlands of nations such as Vietnam, India, Pakistan, and regions of South America, places where water buffalo are part of the economic landscape, raised legally and systematically for meat, milk, and labor. When these animals reach the end of their productive lives, their hides are collected through regulated slaughterhouses, inspected, and immediately sent into the global supply chain. What may look like a heap of raw hides is in reality the starting point of a material that will one day end up in American homes, American cars, or American apparel. Once the hides arrive at the processing facility, the first battlefield they must pass through is the sorting line. Here, workers trained with years of experience stretch each hide across a metal inspection table, scanning for thickness, scars, insect marks, and natural folds. To the untrained eye, these imperfections seem trivial, but in industrial production, they determine everything. Which hides can survive the stress of becoming a sofa, which are fit for belts or smaller goods, and which ones must be downgraded. American manufacturers demand a level of uniformity that machines can predict, because automated cutters cannot adapt to surprises. Sorting, therefore, is not just visual inspection. It is a strategic selection process that determines the fate of every hide. Then comes one of the most deceptively simple yet vitally important stages: salting. Workers spread a dense white blanket of industrial salt across each hide, often 1 to 2 centimeters thick. The scene looks almost like snow covering a battlefield. And in a way, it is a battle against time, bacteria, and decay. Salt draws moisture from the hide, preventing decomposition long enough for the hide to remain stable before deeper processing begins. Without this step, no expensive machine, no advanced chemical, no skilled craftsman could save the material from rotting. It is the first layer of defense in a long chain of protection. After salting, the hides are moved to the soaking area, where enormous drums, each capable of holding 3 to 4 tons of hide, begin their relentless rotation. The sound is deep, heavy, rhythmic, like industrial thunder echoing across the factory floor. Inside these massive cylinders, water penetrates the stiff salted hides, restoring moisture and elasticity. Mild detergents and cleaning agents wash away sand, soil, blood, and the natural odor that clings to the hide after the slaughter process. This stage is not glamorous, but it is essential. The combination of water and motion reawakens the collagen structure, opening the fibers so they can absorb chemicals evenly in the later tanning stages. Scientifically, this is the moment where the hide transitions from a biological remnant to a true industrial material. Water softens the collagen matrix that is stiffened during transport, the gentle chemistry removes contaminants that would interfere with tanning, and the mechanical motion ensures every square inch receives equal treatment. Without consistency here, the final leather would fail under stress, cracking, stretching unevenly, or absorbing dye unpredictably. And in the US market, where a premium sofa might cost $2,000 or more, such failures are unacceptable. If you were to look at the hides during this phase, you would never believe they could one day become a luxury product. They look swollen, pale, almost shapeless, nothing like the finished leather Americans see in stores. But that is precisely why this moment matters. It marks the true beginning of transformation. Everything that follows, the tanning, the finishing, the crafting, depends on what happens in these early hours. And as raw and unrefined as the material appears, this is only the first step in a long engineered journey towards quality, durability, and value.
If the earlier steps served as preparation, this is the moment when the real machinery of the tannery reveals its power. This is where technology begins to replace human labor, where precision takes command, and where the hide experiences the most dramatic transformations. Inside the core of the facility, the air changes. The sounds grow heavier. Rotors, blades, rollers, and pumps create a rhythm unmistakably industrial. The sound of raw material being shaped into something that will eventually serve a purpose in American homes, workshops, and industries. The first major operation is dehairing, the process that strips the water buffalo hide of its dense outer coat. For this, the tannery uses a calculated blend of lime and sulfide, a chemical combination designed to loosen the hair follicles at their base. Unlike cow hair, buffalo hair is thicker, tougher, and more deeply anchored into the skin. It cannot be removed with simple scraping or light mechanical force. It requires chemistry, timing, and machinery. When the hides are fed through the dehairing machine, belts and rollers grip the surface, pulling out every strand in a matter of minutes. What once looked like an unrefined mass of fiber now emerges cleaner, smoother, and structurally more defined. This is the first moment viewers can clearly see the hide beginning to resemble the material they recognize in finished leather goods. From here, the hides move immediately to one of the most striking steps in the entire workflow: fleshing. This is the phase that catches the attention of anyone touring a tannery for the first time. A massive rotating blade, shielded, controlled, and engineered for precision, shaves away the remaining layer of flesh, membrane, and fat from the underside of the hide. The blade doesn't cut in the way a knife does. It skims, peeling back irregularities and revealing a level, uniform surface. As the hide passes, it exits smoother and more consistent than before, a transformation that would be impossible to achieve manually. The fleshing machine is not just a tool, it is the dividing line between raw biological tissue and a true industrial material. But the hide is not ready yet. Although the dehairing chemicals have separated the fibers and the flushing blade has cleaned the underside, the pH of the hide is still too high from exposure to lime. Left unchanged, the hide would stiffen and resist the next stages of production. To correct this, the factory performs deliming, gently reducing the pH through controlled chemical washes. This isn't guesswork, it's a precise adjustment, like tuning a string of an instrument so that it vibrates at the correct frequency. If the pH drops too far or not enough, the entire tanning process downstream becomes unstable. Deliming ensures the fibers relax, preparing the hide for the next step, baiting. Baiting is one of the most surprisingly elegant processes in an otherwise heavy industrial environment. Instead of harsh mechanical force, this stage uses biological enzymes that soften the fibers with surgical precision. These enzymes work their way through the collagen structure, relaxing tension and improving flexibility. This may seem small, but it is essential for the quality Americans expect in leather jackets, gloves, boots, and other apparel. Without proper baiting, leather becomes stiff, unyielding, and prone to cracking. With correct baiting, the hide gains the ability to bend, stretch, and return to shape, qualities that define premium leather goods. By this point in the process, the hide has undergone multiple transformations: hair removed, flesh trimmed, chemistry balanced, and flexibility enhanced. A materials engineer walking into this stage would recognize the significance instantly. This is the foundation. This is where the backbone of the final material is established. Every decision, every measurement, every chemical ratio determines the future performance of the leather, its tensile strength, its durability, its softness, and its resistance to wear. It is here, in this phase, that the hide's long-term identity is shaped. And now, after all the cleaning, adjusting, softening, and refining, the hide stands on the threshold of the most critical step of all. What comes next is the true trial by fire, the moment when the material becomes leather in the truest sense. The hide is finally ready to enter the ultimate gateway of transformation, the tanning process.
This is the moment every tannery is built for, the stage where chemistry, engineering, and precision converge to transform something unstable, organic, and temporary into a material capable of surviving a century. Tanning is often described as locking the collagen structure, but that word barely captures the magnitude of what happens here. Before tanning, a water buffalo hide is nothing more than a biological remnant waiting to decompose. After tanning, it becomes a durable, stable, and resilient material, something the American market relies on for everything from furniture to motorcycle gear. This is not simply processing, it is transformation at a molecular level. To understand how powerful this step is, it helps to look at the three major tanning technologies used by American manufacturers and preferred by U.S. buyers due to performance, regulation, and long-term durability. The first, and by far the most common, is chrome tanning. This method infuses chromium salts deep into the hide, creating leather that is flexible, soft, and exceptionally resilient. Chrome-tanned buffalo leather bends smoothly, holds shape under stress, and performs well in fashion goods popular in the US, from jackets to accessories. It is the workhorse of the industry, chosen because it delivers consistent results and a modern feel. But many American leatherworkers, especially those in the handmade craft community, still seek something more traditional. That is where veg tan comes in. Veg tan relies on tannins extracted from tree bark, leaves, and natural plant materials. The result is a warm, earthy leather with a distinct aroma recognizable to artisans across the United States. Buffalo leather tanned this way carries a firmness and a character that makes it ideal for belts, holsters, sheaths, and cowboy gear, items that demand strength, shape retention, and a sense of heritage rooted deeply in American craft culture. The third method, chrome-free tanning, has risen sharply due to environmental considerations. American importers increasingly request chrome-free buffalo leather to meet sustainability goals, reduce heavy metal waste, and align with strict global regulations. While more complex and often more expensive, chrome-free buffalo leather appeals to companies aiming to deliver high-performance material without the ecological footprint of traditional chemical tanning.
But regardless of the tanning method chosen, the heart of the process remains the same. What happens inside the drum? When the water buffalo hides enter those massive rotating cylinders, the transformation begins. The drum turns slowly at first, then rhythmically pulling the hides upward and dropping them repeatedly through the tanning solution. Over the course of hours, the liquors penetrate deeper and deeper into the collagen. What began as a pale, off-white material gradually shifts color as the chemistry takes hold. Bluish for chrome tanning, warm golden brown for vegetable tanning. This is not surface-level staining. The color change signifies a permanent molecular bond forming between fibers and tanning agents. If you slice the hide open at this stage, every layer would show the new uniform color, proof that the transformation has reached the core. This, more than any other stage, explains why buffalo leather holds a reputation for strength in the American market. A properly tanned buffalo hide can withstand tension, weather, friction, and the long-term mechanical stress found in saddles, motorcycle seats, upholstery, and rugged outdoor goods. The fibers are chemically stabilized, less prone to bacterial decay, and far more resistant to cracking or shrinking. It is the reason a well-made leather saddle can last decades of riding, or why a buffalo leather sofa can endure heavy use in a family home without losing structure. Americans also care deeply about compliance, something many viewers may not realize is central to modern leather production. Tanning facilities exporting to the U.S. must adhere to REACH standards, maintain chemical traceability, and ensure restricted substances remain below legally approved thresholds. The expectations are strict, particularly for chrome residues, wastewater treatment, and volatile compounds. Every drop of tanning liquor, every gram of additive, and every rinse cycle must pass quality and environmental checks. This level of oversight is one of the reasons the U.S. market trusts buffalo leather originating from regulated facilities. The material is not just strong, it is safe, consistent, and manufactured under high scrutiny. By the time the hides leave the tanning drums, they have already become leather in the technical sense. The collagen is stabilized, the fibers are strengthened, the decay cycle is halted permanently. But even now, the leather is only partly finished. It has durability, yes, but not yet beauty. It has structure, but not yet refinement. What emerges from the drum still needs to be shaped, conditioned, softened, colored, polished, and perfected before it reaches the standard that American consumers expect. And that leads us to the final stretch of the journey. From this point forward, the leather is nearly a finished product, but to become beautiful, resilient, and polished enough for the American market, it must pass through a sequence of finishing steps as precise and calculated as anything found in aerospace manufacturing. The transformation is underway, but the true craftsmanship is only beginning.
Once tanned, the hides move.
Once the tanning drums fall silent, the hides emerge transformed, but their journey is far from complete. What the viewer sees now is leather, yes, but leather that is still raw in character, still unrefined, still lacking the precision and beauty expected by American consumers. To reach that standard, the hides must pass through the final gauntlet of the factory, the finishing and crafting floor, a place where engineering, chemistry, artistry, and manufacturing converge. The first step is drying, one of the most deceptively technical operations in the entire facility. Depending on the specification required, the hides enter vacuum dryers or clamp dryers, each designed to remove moisture without damaging the fiber structure established during tanning. Vacuum drying extracts water gently at low temperatures to preserve softness, while frame drying stretches the hide flat, ensuring even dimensions. Every percentage point of moisture matters. Too dry and the leather will stiffen. Too wet and it will warp or discolor. The ideal moisture content is calculated with the same precision used in aerospace composite manufacturing. This is the stage that determines whether the leather will stay stable for years in American homes exposed to heating, air conditioning, and seasonal climate shifts. Once dried, the hides move to fat liquoring, the process that breathes life back into the leather. Special oils are introduced deep into the fiber structure, restoring suppleness lost during drying. For the American climate, this step is crucial. In cold and dry conditions, untreated leather can crack, stiffen, or lose flexibility. But properly fat-liquored buffalo leather resists these failures. The oils bond with the collagen, creating elasticity and long-term resilience. To the untrained eye, it is only a wet surface glistening under factory lights. But to industry engineers, it is one of the defining markers of premium quality leather. Next comes dyeing, an operation where chemistry and color science operate in perfect coordination. For hides destined for the US and European markets, the color palette follows strict standards. Automated dyeing drums infuse pigments deeply and evenly through the hide, ensuring that every inch, front to back, carries the same tone. Whether a customer in Texas wants a deep saddle brown built, or a designer in New York requests matte black for luxury goods, the color must be uniform, durable, and fade-resistant. Cameras, spectrometers, and digital sensors monitor each batch, guaranteeing consistency that no manual method could achieve. After dyeing, the hides enter one of the most intense physical processes in the entire factory, staking. Here, machines beat, stretch, and soften the leather thousands of times, hammering and flexing it until it reaches the signature pliability American buyers expect. In any other industry, a machine striking material this many times would be considered destructive, but in leather finishing, it is essential. Buffalo hide is naturally tough and dense. Staking is what unlocks its softness without sacrificing strength. From there, the hides move toward embossing, the stage where the surface character of the leather is shaped. Using heated steel plates with engraved patterns, the factory can imprint a wide range of textures. Classic grain for furniture, nubuck for soft-touch products, pull-up finishes for rugged American fashion. This step doesn't just change appearance, it affects how the leather ages, how it handles scratches, and how light reflects off its surface. Then comes the final line of defense, quality control. Under bright inspection lamps, technicians examine each hide with meticulous attention to detail. Every scratch, pore, crease, and variation in texture is recorded. Hides are sorted into grades A through D, ensuring that only the highest quality materials make their way into premium American goods. The grading here can determine whether a hide becomes a $2,000 sofa or a small accessory. Nothing is left to chance. And finally, the hides reach the cutting and manufacturing zone. Here, robotic blades trace digital patterns with surgical accuracy, slicing buffalo leather into components for furniture, belts, footwear, and countless other products. Sewing lines hum as workers assemble parts. Packaging stations wrap the finished goods, label them, and prepare them for export. Some will travel across the Pacific. Others will be shipped to workshops across the United States, where craftsmen and manufacturers will turn these pieces into the final products American consumers buy. This is where the story comes full circle. A single water buffalo hide, once just a byproduct leaving a slaughterhouse, has now traveled through dozens of industrial stages, hundreds of quality checks, and thousands of small decisions made by engineers, chemists, technicians, and craftsmen. And when it finally arrives in a home in Chicago, a workshop in Texas, or a store in California, it carries with it an entire unseen journey. The next time someone in America sits on a leather sofa, picks up a belt, or pulls on a pair of boots, they're touching the final chapter of a process few people have ever witnessed. But now, after this journey through the factory, the truth behind that everyday item has finally been revealed.